All right, Business 20 students, this is Mr.D, and as some of you know, we did a Zoom session on Tuesday, and there was just so many technical problems and so much. It was so long. I thought nobody's going to watch this and it isn't going to be helpful. So I went ahead and decided I'm just going to record it again, just the portion of me working through the check-in assignment number 2 on chapter 6 and 7. And so I'm going to be doing that for the next, hopefully 15-20 minutes to get through all of the problems. I'll show you how to work through them. And of course, we're putting everything in the context of this young woman named Sienna, and Sienna owns a health and fitness store. And so everything in this class is going to be centered around Sienna. And so we'll be looking through her eyes at how this business math works in the business context. So also just want to remind you that I've added a Readme section. And I think I mentioned in my video this week for my weekly check-in or my weekly announcement that we're going to be making changes through the class. Throughout the course of this class, so just keep watching. I'm going to be changing the homework sections a little bit later. There really is no homework in this class. It's just a study section. So I'm going to call it that, and I'm going to put everything together so that it's not so intimidating on your screen. And you can just click on the study page and it'll open up everything for that chapter that you need to know. But make sure every week you read the Readme section. That's going to be required before you can do any of the work. And so this week you've probably already done that, and you've probably already hopefully attempted to do the check-in assignment for this week. So I'm going to go ahead and work through these problems from the eyes of Sienna, and hopefully will help make a little more sense. And those of you who did tune in on Tuesday, you saw that we did work through this together, and it took us a little while. We went about an hour and 20 minutes, and I don't want to take that much time here again. So if you look on the screen, this is your check-in assignment. In business, it's very important to figure out percentages because everything in business is done in percents. And so it's expressed in percents, whether that be profits or losses or comparisons or expenses. We're always looking at the percent. You know, what's the percent of change, or what's the percent of sales, what's the percent of expenses, you know, et cetera. And so that's why it's important for you to be able to calculate it. And if you can see on your screen, I'm going to include every week on a check-in assignment any formulas. I'm also going to be creating a formula sheet, and that'll be available to you in the modules in case you don't remember the formulas. And so we're going to be looking at predominantly these two formulas that are up here, but above that in the bold and underlined text are some of the other ones. And this is all found, of course, in chapter 6. And you're going to be covering not everything in chapter 6, but a lot of them in chapter 6. But we're going to go ahead and just move right into it. So if you read down about the middle of the page, it says, help Sienna solve the following problems. So Sienna goes to a health and fitness fair, and she finds that A1 Equipment, her primary supplier of fitness equipment, is offering a special conference price of 35% off the normal selling price of the $449.95 squat rack. So the question is, what is the sales price for each squat rack? And so if you remember the formula that's right up here, we can use this portion formula that's there. And so we're going to be looking for what is the let's see, we're looking at what's the portion. Yeah, so we're going to figure out the portion first. So we're going to take here the base times the rate equals the portion. That's really the formula. So 449.95 times the rate, which is 35%, equals the portion, which ends up being 157.48 if you do the math. And so that's the answer. What is the sales price? That's the discount amount. That's the discount. So you want to find out what the sales price is. So we're going to take the 449.95 and we're going to minus the 157.48, and that's going to give us our sales price of $292.47. So that's the answer. And that's probably the easiest way to solve the problem. However, your book does give this formula it's the exact same formula as mine, but it puts it in a triangle, and it does it like that. So it says base, rate, and portion. And this is what we call the portion formula, or the percentage formula. And that's found right here. And you could use that a lot. So if we use that formula for this particular problem, it would kind of look like this. What we're trying to find is what is the selling price. So we know that the base or the original price is $449.95, and we're going to multiply that by the rate, which is a 35% discount. And so that's going to end up giving us our portion, which we already figured out our portion was $157.48. And then we just deducted the $157.48 from the $449.95, and we got $292.47. Also, we could use the selling price formula. Again, we're trying to find the selling price, and that's really what the question is asking. So we could use this formula. It's the same exact thing, except in this case, what we would do, let me erase this one, and I'll do that one right next to it. It just eliminates that step of having to do the extra math. And so it looks kind of like this. We'll do the same thing, but this one's going to be selling price. That's what we're trying to find. So again, we have the base or list price, which is $449.95 times the rate. But when you use the selling price, if you're trying to find the selling price, you would do 1 minus the rate, or really the opposite of 35. So in this case, it would be 0.65. So if I multiply $449.95 by 0.65, that's going to give me my selling price of $292.47. And so you could do it either way. And I wanted to show you both of those formulas because basically when you're trying to get the portion, what remains, of course, the percentage of the portion that you're setting aside off of the base price, that's your discount amount. But if you want to just make a quick calculation, do the opposite rate of that, which it was 35% for the portion. So do 65%. That'll give you what remains. And that what remains is what the selling price is. So that's how we work those kinds of problems. And that Sienna is going to be able to buy those squat racks for $292.45. So we'll move on to the next part of that problem. All right, this is page 2 of your check-in assignment, and this is the second part of the question. How much did she save on each squat rack? Well, we already did that in the first part of the problem. We figured out she saved $157.48. And again, all we would need to do is take the $292.47 and minus the 150. Oh, sorry, 292. I did it wrong. Hold on. Getting ahead of myself here. Sorry about that. We would take the original price, $449.95, and minus the $292.47, and that would give us our $158.48. That was the amount. That's how much she saved. Now, again, I already showed you this on the last sheet, but I did the same thing using the formula. And how much did she save? I just used the portion formula, which was, again, $449.95 times the rate, which is 35%, and that gave us $157.48. That was the portion. So that's what she saved. So that's the answer to that part of the question. We actually already did it in the first part. All right, moving on to question number 2 then. At the same health fitness fair, Sienna comes across a different fitness equipment supplier that she's never purchased from before. Their products seem just as well made, and they're offering a similar squat rack for sales price of $289.95, which is 40% discount off their normal selling price. So in this particular problem, we're given the sales price, and we're trying to find out what was the original price before the 40% discount. So what is the normal selling price of the squat rack from this new potential supplier? So in this problem, we're trying to solve for what we would say the base or list price. And what we have is we have the selling price that they're selling these squat racks for at the conference, and that is $289.95. And we know we're trying to find this one here, and we know that the rate is 40%. However, when we're solving for selling price formula, we have to minus that from 1. Again, because we're getting the opposite. So we're going to minus that from 60. So we're going to divide $289.95 by 60. And when you do that, you get, for your answer, I'll just write over here, 483.25. So that is the normal selling price of those squat racks. Those are a little bit more expensive than the ones she was getting from A1. And so what's the difference in sales price for squat racks? And so we're going to just basically take, well, if they're 483.25, actually, sorry, we're going to do sales price, not list price. So their sales price was 289.95. And A1's sales price was, if you remember, it was it was 292.47. So if you subtract those two, it comes out to $2.52 savings. Not a whole lot to write home about, right? So in other words, she's actually still better off sticking. She's going to save $2 to buy from this new supplier. And the question is, well, what's the percentage of savings? So we got the amount, but now we're trying to find the percentage of savings. So how much of difference is that between the two? So we're gonna do the math on that. We're gonna take the 252 and we're gonna divide that by the original amount, 292.47. And that's going to give us a whopping 0.0087. That's our answer. And so you can round that to basically 0.9%, not even 1%. So it's right there, just under a 1% savings. So you might ask the question, is it worth it for them to make this change to the new vendor for 1% savings when they've built a relationship with A1 for all these months and years? Probably not. And by the way, you can solve that same problem using the formula. I want to show you that. So I would take the portion. This would be using the portion formula because that's what we have. We've got the portion, that's the difference, and we're going to divide that by the 292.47. So if I divide that, that's what this formula means when you have the top to the bottom. And that would give us a rate, again, of 0.0087. So you could, if you divided it, it's the same thing as putting it in the formula. So what's the answer here? It's basically 0.8. It's 0.87. Sorry, 0.87% or just 1% is what I'm looking for. So, all right. So that's the question for B. Using the formula again. If I didn't explain this, I want to make sure I make it clear. The formula that your book gives is a triangle. I use a circle, but basically this horizontal line is a division and this vertical line is a times, and it's usually by base, portion, and rate. Or if we end up using the selling price one, we would do selling price, we would do list price, and then 1 minus the rate. So those are the two formulas that we are using in this chapter to help us solve these problems. Again, they're available to you on the worksheet. I'll also put together a formula sheet. All right, moving into the next question. Sienna is considering starting a local delivery option for the online purchases of supplements and fresh fruit smoothies and juice. Because the smoothies and juice are cold, to remain cold, they need to be delivered quickly. She's considering contracting out these deliveries to either Mike's Bike Courier Service or DoorDash. Mike's Bike Courier Service can make a delivery every 6.8 minutes. I'm going to write that down. And DoorDash can do it every 4.1 minutes. So by what percent is productivity increased by going with DoorDash over Mike's Bike Courier Service? So I wrote both of those down. When you're doing a word problem, of course, you want to write down what you're trying to find out. And I'm trying to find the difference in percent of these two numbers. So the first thing that you would do when you're trying to figure out a difference is you would subtract and find the difference between the two. So 6.8 minus 4.1, I believe, comes out to 2.7. So there is a 2.7 difference between the two. And then if I want to find the percent of that, again, we could use the formula that I just showed you, the portion formula, 2.7 divided by 6.8, since that was the original. That's going to give me my rate. That's what I'm trying to find. So I would just divide the 2.7 by 6.8, and the answer comes back at 57.1. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. It's going to come back as 3.8 My bad. I wasn't doing the math. I'm trying not to do the math because it takes a while. I'm trying to just give you the answers. I already did all the math on another sheet. It's going to be 0.397, or if you rounded that, it would be 39.7%, or if you just want to round it up to 40%. So there's a 40% difference between DoorDash, 40% increase in productivity with DoorDash doing it versus Mike's Bikes doing it. So what's the answer here? It's a 40% increase. Now we're going to figure out, Mike's Bikes is going to come up with a solution. We're going to figure out how much faster can they do it. And we'll change pages and get to that in just a second. All right, so we're continuing on with the same question. Mike's Bike Courier Service attached coolers to their delivery bikes and were able to carry more items per trip, thus decreasing their time by another 35%. What is now the new average delivery time for Mike's Bike Courier Service? So remember, Mike's Bike was able to do it in 6.8%, but now they can do it 35% faster because they have these new coolers on their bike. So again, we want to figure out what is 35% of 6.8. So we're going to multiply those together. And again, this would be, we're trying to find the portion, that how much faster. So we'll use the portion, base, and rate formula. And so in this case, we have 6.8 and we have 0.35%. So if I do the math on that, it's actually going to be 2.38 minutes faster. So again, 6.8 minus 2.38 equals, now they can do it in 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Now again, how fast was DoorDash? DoorDash was 4.1. So Mike's Bikes is competitive, but they're still not quite as fast as DoorDash. So you're probably going to want to go with DoorDash and on that scenario. Now, again, I did this the long way. I actually found the portion, the difference between the two, and instead of getting the total at the end, and I could have made it a little bit quicker by using the selling price, or what I'm calling the selling price formula, and that would have been, I would have done the final price. So it did the 6.8 times 1 minus 0.35, which is the same thing as 0.65. So if I would have multiplied 6.8 by 6.5, I would have came up with the 2.38 as well. And again, because I'm using the complement of the rate, it's removing the discount or the amount, and it's adding in the remaining amount, which is what remains. So actually, I apologize. It wouldn't have been 2.38. It would have been 4.42. Yeah, it would give me the answer because I'm using the 65% rest 35%. All right, I'm going to move on then to the next question. Hopefully you're following me on this. I'm just trying to instill the use of these formulas in solving Sienna's problems. Sienna was running some numbers. This is a very similar problem, and realized that 3 out of every 7 transactions were made on credit cards. And so the question is, what percent is not credit cards? So we got to first find what is 3.7, and really all we need to do is divide 3 by 7. And 3, sorry, that's so scrubbly here. 3 divided by 7 equals 42.9%. So that means 42.9% of her purchases are made on credit cards. So what is the purchase not made on credit cards? Well, that's easy. You just take 100% minus 42.9%, and that comes out to 57.1%. That one was pretty easy. We didn't really need to use the formula on it, but you could have, if you wanted to, you could have easily done the 3 up here, the 7 over here, and then that would have given you your 0.429, which is the same thing as 42.9%. All right, so that's it for chapter 6. Hopefully that's helpful. If You take the quiz, as chances are very similar questions are going to be on the quiz. And again, I provided the formula. It's actually in the quiz as well. So you can reference that there if you need them. But just remember, if you're trying to find just the portion, usually the discounted amount or the portion, the difference, you'd want to use the portion formula. If you want to find the final price, the sales price, then you'd want to use the minus the rate formula, which I'm calling the sales price or the sales formula. And we'll see that later on. We'll actually do a 1+ when we're doing markups. We'll use the same formula. So we'll have the cost or the list price that we want to add to, for some markup so that we can make money. And we'll use 1+ the rate. So that way it automatically puts the original amount in the answer for you rather than just finding the portion or difference. And so we'll come to that when we get to chapter 8. Now we move into chapter 7. And as you can see here, hopefully you've read this, but there's 2 different kinds of discounts that are often offered to businesses. One of them is when you buy things on bulk, you oftentimes get a what's called a trade discount. So maybe your list price is, $5,000 for everything you bought, but because you bought so much in bulk, they'll give you an automatic 25% discount off the total bill. And so you'll actually pay 25% less on all the items you've purchased. And the whole idea there is that way you can turn around and you can sell them for the retail price and make 25% towards your business. And this is what wholesalers do. This is what manufacturers do for retailers. No retailer is going to pay retail price, right? They have to pay an amount less so they can make a markup on it, make money off it, and that's how they run their business. So trade discounts are very popular, and so we'll go over how to calculate those with some purchases Sienna makes. And then there's cash discounts, and cash discounts are basically when a company buys things on a short-term credit basis. So like, for instance, Sienna might order a bunch of supplements, and they all get shipped to her, but she doesn't have to pay them right away. She has 30 days or 60 days to pay. And a lot of times what companies will do that have lended you that credit for 30 days or 60 days before payments due is if you pay it off earlier, they'll give you an additional percent discount. And usually it's a very small amount, 2, 3, 4%, but it's still valuable if you're trying to save money. And you can then, of course, still charge the same amount, and you can make that money back as long as you pay it on time. So that's what we're going to look at in the next chapter. We're going to look at trade discounts first, and then we're going to look at cash discount. Okay, I apologize, but the page kind of cut in half, so I'll have to fill you in on what the top half says about trade discounts. But really what it's telling you there was when there's a cash discount, a lot of times the way that they express the terms of the cash discount is found right here on the screen, and that is 3, 15, and 30. And to interpret that, it basically means that if you pay it off within 15 days, you'll get a 3% discount. And if not, either way, it's due in 30 days. And so some of these problems have to do with you figuring out the date that they're due and then the amount that's due as well. So for instance, if we just move right into question number 1 here for chapter 7, Sienna, supposed to be Sienna, placed her most recent order for supplements, and her order totaled $395.95. The supplier offered her a 28% trade discount. And again, they're asking you, what is the amount of the trade discount? And so in this case, we would just have to multiply 395 times 0.28. And that would give us our discount of $110.87. All is good. And so that's the amount of the trade discount. That's what we're going to put down. We're going to put $110.87. Now, then, what is the new price for her order? And if we deduct the 110, 395.95, and we deduct 110.87, the net price for that order is $285.05. Pretty simple, right? Again, just to show you, we can use the formula to do this, both the formulas I just mentioned. So if I was to, I'm just going to keep using it to hopefully it sinks in. 395.95 at a rate of 28% comes out to $110.87, right? So if we multiply these two together, that's the portion That's the discount amount. That's what we call it, the discount amount. Now, however, if I wanted to just skip all this extra math to find this value, I would use what I called the selling price formula that I included for you. So again, 395.95 times 1 minus the rate. So it would be 1 minus 0.28, which is the same thing as 0.72. So if I multiply those together, again, the 28% represents the discount of the 395, and then the 72%, which is the rest, indicates the selling price or the sales price. So in that case, if you do the math, it'll come out to 285.05 or 08. Sorry, I didn't write there. So you can use that one as well. And that, just remember, 1 minus the rate is the key. So that's the two questions answered. I did it without the formula. I did it with the formula to show you the difference. I'm going to erase this one here so that I can continue on with the next problem. And the next problem says Sierra purchases Sierra. It's supposed to be Sienna. I think my autocorrect keeps changing it, but Sienna purchases an order of kettlebells and dumbbells from A1 Equipment for her equipment center with a list price of $2,375. That's what the whole order was. She was offered a series trade discount of 15, 20, 20 by her supplier at A1 Equipment. This is, again, I put in there the chapters that you can find this. So this is a little bit different. This is what's called a series discount. And series discounts are offered when you do a lot of ordering from the same company. And so they'll give you a series of discounts, one after the other, and they kind of all add up to come out to be a significant savings. It's not as popular as just a regular trade discount, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to work out these series. So basically what you'll do is you got to take each one of the series discounts and you need to subtract them from 1 and then multiply them together. And this gets us to what's known as the net price factor. Now, you could go through and do each one individually, but it takes too long. So what you're going to want to do is do the math on each of these. And what this comes out to is 0.544. That is your net price factor. What does that mean? This is what your book calls it, net price factor. What that means is if you multiply the amount of your purchase price by that net price factor, it's going to give you the net price. What is the actual cost of that equipment after the series of discounts? So if you take the 2,375 and you multiply that by 0.544, it would equal for you $1,292 even. So let's keep it at that. So that basically means that your order for $2,375 after a trade series discount, really, you're only going to pay $1,292 for those items. So, however, it says, what is the trade a discount after the series of discounts? So it's not asking you for the net price, it's asking you for the trade discount. So there's two ways you can get it. Now that you've got the net price, you have to take your list price, which is the original amount that they were for, and you minus the net price, and you would get the concurring result, which is $1,083. So that is your discount, right? That is the discount amount, and you've got that. So you would write that in here, 1,083. However, like in everything, there's a faster way to get to the discount. Remember, I told you that it's 100% for the rate ultimately. So if 0.544 represents the net price, then the opposite of that represents the discount. So if I take 100% or 1.1 and I minus 0.544, it comes out to 0.456. This is what your book calls the single, it's really equivalent factor, discount factor, sorry. I know that doesn't look very good on the screen, but discount factor. So if I multiply the list price by that, 32375 by that, that's going to give me my discount amount, which is the same as I just did here with the math. So if I multiply 2375 by 0.456, it comes out to 1,083. That's my trade discount amount. So remember, if I use the net, if I add up all of the trade discounts like I did, or multiply them all together, and I get the net price factor, I have to get the opposite of that to get the discount amount. And this is what I want you to see is you have 100%. So if a portion of that is the discount percent, then the opposite of that is the sale price, or in this case, it is the net price. And that's actually what this assignment asks for next, is the net price. We'll look at that here. Okay, so I turned the page, and again, that's what it asked you. What is the net amount of the order? It's the same problem, and we already saw that it was 1,200. I already did that. The net price factor gave us that value right away, so I actually answered that question in the first part of the problem. $1,292, $1,292. So that was what she actually paid on that $23.75 order that she placed. All right, moving on to the next problem. A1 Equipment also allowed Sienna Health and Fitness to receive the items now and gave Sienna 30 days extended credit to pay off the debt, plus an additional cash discount if she paid it off early. The invoice is dated April 9th with the terms 3/15 and 30. So again, then it's asking us, what is the discount date? In other words, that first one. So remember, I told you already, if you didn't hear me, 3/15 is the same thing as saying 3% discount if I pay within 15 days. And what this particular problem is asking is, what is the date that I can still get a discount? What is the absolute last date that I can get a discount? And so if it's April 9th, and I just plus 15 to that, that's going to give me my date. And so April 9th plus 15th is April 24. And I just use my fingers to do this, to be honest with you, or look on a calendar. So you go 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 15 days later is 24th of April. So that's your answer here. And then it goes on to say, what net date, or in other words, when would the total invoice be due? Well, again, it's 3/15 and it's also N30, meaning if regardless, it's all due in 30 days. So if April 9th was the day I made the purchase, then plus 30 days is when it's due. So in this case, April has how many days in it? 30 days has September, April, June. So it's 30 days, right? So 30 days, this is easy because it's a 30-day month. 30 days after April 9th is May 9th, right? That's 30 days later. Now, if this happened to be May 9th and you were going to have these terms, and you would have to pay it off by June 8th because there's an extra day in May. So it would be June 8th. So your answer here is May 9th. That's the answer. So April 24th and May 9th. Those are the two answers for the dates. Now, if the invoice terms were changed to 3 and 15 EOM, what is the new discount date? And this is a different kind of term. There's another one called receipt of goods, or ROG. And so usually ROG will just be added. It'll say 3, 15, and 30 ROG. That just means that the clock doesn't start ticking until you receive the goods. So even though you might have ordered it on April 9th, you might not have got it until April 24th. And if that's the case, that's when the clock starts ticking for the 15-day for the discount and for the 30 days when everything is due. EOM, however, is abbreviated for end of month. And what this means, and it's kind of I think in some ways, a simpler way to figure this out. But basically, your discount date is 3% in 15 days. But this end of month term here kind of makes it a little bit easier. And here's the rules for the end of month. If your invoice is dated, so we'll just say invoice, on or before the 25th of the month, your invoice, your timeline doesn't start until the 1st of the next month. So in this case, if it were April, right, 9th, it's before the 25th. So that means May 1st, the time starts. And so you have 15 days. So it would basically be May 15th that would be the period in which your discount date is still good. And that's what we're asking for. What is the new discount date? So we're using the end of month terms. And so because we're saying end of month, what we're saying is it starts at the end of the month. So the first day in May, the second day in May, the third day in May, all the way to the 15th is your discount period. So it's May 15th. And then it's asking you what is the new due date or net date. And so it would be May 15th plus 20. And it's always plus 20 when you do end of month, unless, of course, it specifies something different. So in most cases, it's automatically plus 20. So that would be May 35th. Well, there is no such thing as May 35th. So we have to add 20 days to May 15th. And the best way to do this, in my opinion, is look at the calendar. We already know that May has 31 days, right? So I would do 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be due June 4th. And all I did was I added 20 days to May 15th. So again, you can look on the calendar and do it. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, etc. Add 20 days, and wherever you land, that's the due date for that particular invoice. So again, the end of month terms are if it's before the 25th of the month, then you start the next month, the very end of that month, you start counting the whatever days are in the terms for the discount. If it's 10 days to pay it off, if it's 20 days to pay it off, it would be that many days till the discount period ends, starting from the 30th. So first, second, third, fourth would be the 20th if it's 20 days. And then 20 more days, everything is due. Now, what happens, however, if you pay it on the 26th of the month? In other words, the invoice is dated the 26th. So let's just say it's April 26th. Well, in that case, it doesn't start at the end of that month. It starts at the end of the next month. So in this case, your clock would not start ticking until May 30th or 31st. And then it would start counting the 15 days. So if it were after the 26th, you'd count the 15 days. So again, it would be June. In this case, it would be June 15th. And then you do plus 20 to get the due date. And so that would be July 35th, but there is no 35th. So it would be actually be August 4th would be when the actual invoice is due. So you'd add 20 days to June 15th. All right. So it's not the same month. It's the end of the next month. And that's the difference. So, all right. So hopefully that made sense. We're going to move into the last page. We're going to deal with if we make a partial payment. All right, now we're on the last problem for trade and cash discounts. And this question, Sienna purchases a number of squat racks that she saw at the Health and Fitness Conference Center from this new supplier. She thought, hey, I might as well try them out and see if they're any good. Their company's name is Get Fit. Her invoice was for $3,700. And she was offered the terms of 4/15 and 30. Those are the pretty typical. The invoice is dated October 17th. So we'll just put October 17th. And Sienna decides to send in a $2,000 partial payment. So somehow we have to figure out how to deduct that $2,000 payment with some discount, because she's going to get discount. She pays that partial payment within the discount period. So she pays it before the 15 days. So let's figure out what's the date first. So if it's October 17th plus 15 days, it would be the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. First. So that would be 11/1 or November 1st. That's when it would be. That would be the end of the discount period. And that's what it's asking. It says by what date must the partial payment be sent in order to take advantage of the cash discount? So November 1st. Has to be paid by November 1st. And then what is the net date? So November 1st, and then it's plus 30. So we would again do October 17th plus 30. We don't start from the end of the discount date. We start from the very first date. And again, there's 31 days in October. So if you add 30 to October 17th, it's not going to be November 17th. It's going to be November 16th, right? So that's the answer to the second part, November 16th. Now, if a partial payment was sent by the discount date, what is the balance still due on the order? So now we need to figure out how to calculate a partial payment. And we might, like right off the bat, well, that's easy. Let's just multiply $2,000, because that's what a partial payment is, by the 4% that she's going to get, and then we'll take that difference, whatever it is, that 4% of 2,000, and then we'll add that to the payment because it's kind of like credit, and then we would submit that, and so that's how much we would deduct off of the total amount of the invoice. However, it doesn't work that simply. You need to actually, rather than multiply it, you need to first divide it. So you're going to take the 2,000 and you're going to multiply by 1 minus 0.04, which is the same thing as saying in the 2,000 divided by 0.96. And that's going to give you your discount or your credited amount. And it ends up being 80, I think it's $83. Let's see, I'm trying to find it here. I already did the math on it. It's $83 and I didn't write it down. Well, it's $83.33. So, and then that needs to be added to your payment. Actually, when you do the math, it comes out to $2,083.33. So that is your credit, taking advantage of the 4% discount, 0.4% discount, or 4%. All right, so if that's the case, then the new due amount is 3,700 minus 2,083.33, and that's going to equal a new amount of 16,1667. So that is the new amount that is due after the partial payment. So I just want to caution you, the partial payment is not difficult, but just remember when you're doing it, it's not a multiplication. In this case, it's a division, and you're going to be dividing by the complement of it. So again, you're trying to find out how much is the credited amount. So in this case, you would do, let me just do the math real quick on my computer, on my calculator. Here, what do I do with my calculator? Here it is. So let's do 2,000. It's not working. Needs sunlight to work. It's not working. All right. Actually, this comes out to 2,083.33. So when you divide, you're getting what basically we would call your list price in this case, but it wouldn't be list price, it's your discounted amount. So if you want to look at this, using the formulas, what we have is we have the portion, and then we have the 1 minus the rate, which in this case is 0.96. And if I do the math on that, it comes out to 2,083.33. If you want to use the formula, but I think it's actually easier just to use, this is basically called the partial payment formula. And that's where you divide the partial payment by the complement of the rate that you're getting a discount at. And that came out to the total of 2,083.33. I subtracted that from 3,700, and that came out to 16,1667. And that is what your invoice is when you get after the payment and discount, and that's due on November 16th. So hopefully I didn't confuse any of you on that last one. It's not that difficult. I would just focus probably not using this because that might have gotten confusing. Just use this formula when you're doing the partial payments. Just take your partial payment, divide it by 1 minus the rate of discount you're going to be getting, and then do the math. 2,000 divided by 0.96, and that gives you your complete and total balance of what you owe, or not what you owe, but what your discount is, and then you would subtract that from your total amount, and that would give you what you owe. So because the 2,083.33 is basically a credit, right? It's taking your 2,000 and it's adding that 4% on it, and then that's what you're paying down on your principal. So that's really what your payment is. It's not 2,000, it's 2,083.33, and that benefits you to get that discount. So, all right, well, that's it for this week. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully my videos will get better in the weeks to come, but I wanted to give you a chance because I did go through this on our Zoom session, and I wanted to give you a chance to be able to watch the Zoom of me working out these problems in case you're really struggling. And hopefully this helped and didn't confuse you. But I also wanted to start getting you used to using the formulas that the book provides. And they're not difficult formulas, and hopefully you can memorize them as I have. But if not, they're there. They're going to be there in the homework assignments or in the quizzes in the little box at the top, as well as they're in the README file. And in this case, I actually included them at the very first page of the check-in assignment. So have a great week, everybody, and we will see you next week. And if you have any issues or problems or don't understand this, please get a hold of me. We can meet in Zoom. You can come during my office hours. I'm happy to help however I can. And again, you don't have to get all these right. Just do your best, and then I will correct you and show you where you made the mistakes. And that will, and then you can, if you get your check-in assignment to me before Wednesdays, I will grade them by Thursday, Friday, and then you can make whatever adjustments you need to before you take the quiz. All right, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you soon.